Hope's birthday, and we've got deals to entertain you. Don't regret it and buy it on credit when you shop this Hisense 2.1 channel soundbar with wireless sub for 1,999, save 500. Or this Univa 7 kg front loader washing machine for 5,199, save 300. Or this Hisense 65-inch UHD smart TV for 11,499, save 2,000. Price is valid until 2 October. Hi-Fi Corp, your #1 deal destination. Destination.
Good evening, this is Eswatini TV News at 8. I am Natile Sitole alongside Zamanzi Manzi. First up, let's have a look at our top stories. The Deputy Prime Minister Temba Masugu today joined over 700 world leaders in former Japanese Prime Minister His Excellency Shinzo Abe's state funeral. Eswatini Tourism Authority CEO says the authority has accounted 4.5 million of the 19.7 million emalangeni that was recorded by the Auditor General. Eswatini Under-23 men's national team has progressed to the next round of the Total AFCON 2023 qualifiers. The news. The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Temba Masugu, today joined over 700 world leaders in former Japanese Prime Minister His Excellency Shinzo Abe's state funeral. Masugu was representing His Majesty King Mswati III to pay Eswatini's last respects to Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister.
The Deputy Prime Minister, in the company of his wife Dimpo Masugu, has joined over 4,500 guests and 700 leaders at the Nikon Budokan Arena, where the funeral of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is being held. The ceremony began with Abe's ashes carried into the arena by his widow Aki. It was accompanied by music from the military band. Inside the hall, a large portal of Abe was hung over a bank of white, green and yellow flowers. As the ceremony progressed, bowing by the envoys of their Majesties and the Emperor Emeritus and Empress Emerita took center stage as the royal family paid their last respect to Abe, whom they referred to as their son. Eswatini was not to be left out in the bowing session, as the Deputy Prime Minister and his wife, on behalf of their Majesties and the entire Swati nation, also paid their last respect to Japan's former Prime Minister.
Bakhuluma-ke into letiningi letinhle latentile lo Prime Minister nekuthuthukisa live nokuthi tinkulumo takhe labekade tatsandza kakhulu ukufaka nebantfu labasha tikhuluma ngekuthuthukisa nje live laseJapan. Indvodza lekubonakala ukuthi bebayitsandza kakhulu ngale misebenzi yawo lebebayibala lapha kuthe-ke nasekuphelile lo msebenzi walo lenkonzo yemngcwabo kwase sekufela-ke ithuba lokuthi sihambe siyovusela ndunankulu lokhona naye-ke sibese sichuba umlayito wakangwane sethula umlayito wakangwane ukuthi bathe inkosi nendlovukazi nesive nje sonke seMaswati asitobakhalela ngoba sinebudlelwane Japan.
Same applied when the Deputy Prime Minister, in the company of his wife, met briefly with Abe's widow, Aki. Shinzo Abe has been described by many here in Japan as a firm believer in changing Japan's pacifist constitution, which Japan has held since the end of the Second World War. Abe is also appreciated for enacting developmental policies which have seen a significant rise in the number of Japanese preferring to come back home, having migrated abroad. John Morelekeng reporting for Eswatini TV News in Tokyo, Japan.
Eswatini Tourism Authority CEO Linda Ngumalo says the authority has accounted 4.5 million of the 19.7 million emalangeni that was recorded by the Auditor General to be unaccounted for. The CEO has been speaking in Parliament before the Public Accounts Committee.
When the Public Accounts Committee PAC convened for parliamentary work on Tuesday, the committee wanted responses from the Eswatini Tourism Authority on the payments issued by the authority amounting to 19.7 million emalangeni in the financial years ended 21st March 2016 to 2021, but could not be allocated to the correct expense accounts due to the lack of supporting documents, as per the Auditor General's report. The Auditor General's report also reports that from the ATA, there were no petty cash reconciliations prepared in the financial years ended 21st March 2016 to 2021, yet petty cash amounting to 357,000 was being spent and cashed out by employees. ETA CEO Linda Ngumalo then finished the House with responses.
Ngule timali leti chele betingaposteki kahle. Bekuyi credit balance chairperson. Akusiyo ukuthi bekuyimali le lokuganga ngicangisi nje nayo leyo idinga the supporting documents. Kude ukuthi iclearisheke. Siyawa check at all levels njengoba bek advise iauditor nga-2021. So konke kwenteka kahle chairperson lokusele nje nangilokuthi kucasheke lo muntu ka finance nako lokutopenda ukuthi sithole le budget allocation after the strategy review. Ngiyabonga chair.
Members of the House, including the chairperson of the committee, Musagnene, debated the matter.
Ngiplan ukuthi kutabo sibala nje spend batrabo bush fund batrabo banibani. Unayini access yokuchecka i-account when
officer umvume umbhadala njani lo bhadalako kulosiwo wambhadala njani officer ipension yakhe leso sketjana sekomiti sayathathola information kuye siwo ukuthi lona so swahambile umthetho ndasingene public finance management act isleyo mali itaw recover kulo officer lobeka responsible lobeka lose letimali
kumcharge nge-criminal offense nangabe ubaleka kanini usamphenya
sesemkhulu umsebenzi la lama queries nje nakafika bawalethe ebhodini ngiyadiputa ukuthi nafike nakhulumisa nathini nakubuka njani tonke letinto letivelako namuhla. So mina nje kwami ukuphasisa lokuthi nangabe bengahambi kahle itolo akumane utinto tibuye tiqonze.
The CEO was also afforded an opportunity to respond to the debate.
Sabane mhlangano na anti-corruption after this because le issue le nabo bebayibonile sayiconfirma nabo in part of labe baku-investigator nasidoze simcharge ngoba simchargiswa che ukuthi internally kunema-internal processes akhona lasho kokuthi umuntu nakagange kanje nohandlisheka kanje so stay provide ama-correspondences chair.
Auditor General Timothy Matsebula emphasized on the importance of financial offices or the financial department in every institution to minimize the issue of mismanagement of funds. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkel Siwekoza with Sikumbuzo Dlamini, Parliament.
The Tobacco Control Unit under the Ministry of Health and the World Health Organization today discussed ways to curb the effects of the tobacco epidemic. Zandi Dlamini, who is the National Tobacco Control Focal Person, says the workshop seeks to address the consumption and exposure to tobacco smoke by providing a framework for tobacco control measures.
Eswatini is signatory to the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which came into force on the 27th of February 2005. The objective of the agreement is to protect present and future generations from the devastating health, social, and economic consequences of tobacco. Zandi Dlamini, who is the National Tobacco Control Focal Person, says the social and economic effects of tobacco necessitates steadfast and sustainable approach to control.
According to that document, we have about 600 Eswatini dying every year due to tobacco-related illnesses, and this accounts for nearly 6% of all deaths in the country. And we also have learned from that document that tobacco costs Eswatini about 684 million emalangeni every year, which is an equivalent of 1.1% of our GDP, and that's in 2017. So this investment case has proposed certain strategies which could assist us in averting about 3,300 deaths by 2034 and also avert 2.7 billion in health costs and in economic losses by 2034.
Dlamini says in order to strengthen enforcement of current legislation on tobacco control, they will mobilize public and political support for the bill through traditional and digital media channels. Sifiso Ngumalo for Eswatini TV News in Babane.
The Deputy Prime Minister's Office under the Gender and Family Unit is engaging stakeholders in a gender-based violence session that seeks to draft a report on all forms of violence in Eswatini.
The purpose of the meeting is drafting national reports for the National Surveillance System on Violence for the 2021 as well as 2022 media. The Gender Monitoring and Evaluation Analyst from the Deputy Prime Minister's Office, Mbendulo Masuku, has explained how the session is important in the fight against gender-based violence.
We have the mandate to coordinate this national response, and through the national strategy, this is what now, in terms of data management, we are expected to do, to produce these annual reports. These annual reports, again, these are the reports that we use to inform, programs, to inform even policy and even legislative decisions. Because as you may recall, for us to be able even to push the issue of the SOTV, it was because we had numbers to back up in terms of saying the situation of gender-based violence is escalating in the country, and therefore needs to, maybe certain measures that need to be in place.
One of the attendants, Detective Velile Dlamini from the Royal Eswatini Police Domestic Violence Department, is urging victims of violence to report cases of abuse.
We've noted that gender-based violence, especially physical violence against intimate partners, more especially girlfriends and boyfriends, is prevalent in the country. Another type of violence that is prevalent is sexual violence affecting children, more especially, and the perpetrators of such violence are close relatives, people whom the children have trust.
A press release from SWACA reflects that in the month of August, 194 females reported cases of abuse and 95 males also reported cases of abuse. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Thandukuhle Mdluli, Sitfogodvo.
Dr. Sonene Nyawo, a spiritual counselor, says suicidal people must not be judged because they can worsen the situation. Rather, they must be assisted in seeking professional help. She was speaking on how suicidal people can be assisted, since most people seem to be suicidal, despite September being the month of suicide prevention and awareness.
The month of September is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month, which is commemorated globally, Eswatini included. Despite being Suicide Awareness Month, suicide cases are still on the rise and some people are still suicidal. This is seen in their social media status, some clearly stating that they are no longer able to cope with life. The news crew spoke to Dr. Sonene Nyawo, a spiritual counselor, on how to assist suicidal people and the role friends and family can play. Dr. Nyawo says we all need to be our brother's keeper and look out for the next person and have an ear to listen whenever they need to speak about something.
Ungabi na judgmental, don't be judgmental and don't patronize. Ungabi judgmental ukuthi how wena sohlushwa ngona lokhu nje lokungane kangaka.
She says there's a difference between religion and spirituality, thus any problem mostly affects the spirit. She says people must never be judgmental and put themselves in the next person's shoes to feel what they are feeling at that particular time. She says we can play a role in healing them without criticizing them or demonizing the situation. Dr. Nyawo says there are always warning signs and withdrawal from other people which shouldn't be taken lightly. She says some do not have the courage to admit that they have a problem and they do need help. The news crew also spoke to Dr. Pepile Sugati, a clinical psychologist based at the Zakhele Psychiatric Center.
It's a combination combination of ama-respecters into letingabeka abantu ezingendo ukuthi bafike esigabeni sokufuna ukubulala.
She says people are faced with a lot these days, thus suicide becomes the option. She says suicide can be a combination of risk factors, mainly depression. She says they have a theme for the next 3 years, which is creating hope through action, which emphasizes the need to assist that particular person. She says they also remove stigma through this theme. She says if one has a friend or relative who's suicidal, they can approach them to be assisted at the psychiatric center, where suicide is treated as an emergency and attended to without an appointment. She says psychologists also have a website where people can get professional help in Eswatini. Eswatini is currently ranked the 5th worldwide on suicide cases. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB with Vuminkosi Nzinisa and Fortune Dlangamandla, Kwaluseni.
The acting general manager at Pigg Hotel, Leonard Dlamini, has informed the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament that they have prepared a 6-month strategic plan that will help them to settle their debts and address other operational challenges.
When the Public Accounts Committee when the Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs appeared for the second time before the Public Accounts Committee on Tuesday, another matter that was discussed on the House was the issue of incurred net loss by the Pigg Hotel and Casino, amounting to 3.7 million Malangeni in the financial year ended 31st March 2021. Whereas according to the report of the Auditor General, the public enterprise made a loss of 2.9 million Malangeni in the previous year. The company also accumulated a loss of 1.2 million Malangeni at last year end, which has resulted to a negative shareholder equity balance of 1.2 million Malangeni. In response, Acting General Manager at Pigg Hotel, Leonard Dlamini, said the hotel is working on a turnaround strategy.
Vele lo mkhankaso wokuhambela letikweleti sibonga ukuthi lamaningi alamatiko lasikweletako efikile la kulendlu kwenda lokho ukuthi nathi nasibakhulumisa ngale yathatheleka edulu kakhulu lenzaba ikuyasetshenzwa chairperson la kule strategy sethu la sicale ngako sicale nge debt collection ukuthi we are aggressively vele sihambela le office siphindze sibonge bo controlling officer ngosiyami nabo bonke bahulumende kusupporta I business yema conferences iyenyuka longisuka nje espeak nyalo there is a conference lebe isilethela 100 webantu.
Members of the House then debated the matter.
Ngoba nathi mntani engage enye operate futhi ngisena ukuthi ngabe isethatha noma national strategy nebhaka hulumende lepe bakhona nyana bebabhadalele ngubani babhadalele ngubani ngoba kucala phela kwathiwa organize cabinet bese sebayaphika kuso bona base responsible laba lebe bakhona nyalo babhadalele ngubani
litiqiniseka kanganani letimbobola kuvuta khona le mali because lingangeja lomunye umuntu kanti vele so kati vale timbobona lelitamengeja utawuchubeka asebendele loss.
The acting GM then responded to the debate.
Le strategy sethu lesi sa 6 months. A 6-month strategy. Kodwa nje usicabanga lokho ukuthi njengoba siqalile sisemkhathini naso njengana sikhuluma kakhulu nje indlu lehloniphekile sikhuluma ngalama top passes. Akusiyo into lelula ukuthola 10 wema contracts abe signed ukuthi vele sebatawusebenzisa speak. Kodwa ke ngisho ukuthi by the grace of God sisahambela basendele basesayinela sebaqalile futhi vele lamabhasi sekaqalile ayafika eSpeak.
In closing, the acting GM assured the House that the hotel will improve its collection methods. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkel Suekoza with Sikhumbuzo Dlamini, Parliament.
Parents who have children with Down syndrome say some children with the condition are still being stigmatized and not taken to school. Nokai Dlamini and other parents have formed a support group and are in the process of establishing an organization where they will educate other parents about this condition.
Children with Down syndrome still face stigmatization and parents still hide them from the public because of this condition. Parents who have children with this condition are in a process of forming an association where they will address issues affecting these children. Nokaya Dlamini, a parent, says after their radio program in partnership with the Ministry of Education, they saw parents who started calling and describing symptoms of their children. Some, it was autism, whom they referred to Trifina Mvubu, who is the director of Eswatini Autism. Nokaya Dlamini, a parent, says parents must not deprive children of education no matter the situation because they have seen children improving while at school.
Sisazama kona lokuthi sibe sesithola le funding yokuthi sithole lolu sito, especially in the part yokuthi bantwana bethu kufuna vele ukuthi bagcine bayile etikolweni.
She says the help begins with the parent being assisted and the children's inclusion is key so that they feel a sense of belonging with their peers. She says they will ensure that they educate other parents about Down syndrome as a condition. She says these children have the potential to graduate and have their dreams fulfilled just like any other normal child. She applauds the support they receive from the Ministry of Education, especially the Special Needs Unit or Department. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi with Muslim Konda, Elangeni.
And now we'll have a look at our financial markets.
Bank, it can be.
And let's move on to our sports news. Eswatini under-23 men's national team has progressed to the next round of the Total AFCON 2023 qualifiers after defeating Botswana 3-2 on aggregate. Eswatini will now play Egypt next month.
The under-23 national team have progressed to the next stage of the under-23 Total Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers after their 3-2 victory on aggregate against Botswana. Eswatini were defeated by Botswana to 2-1 in the second leg, played in Francistown in Botswana, but were in the driving seat, having clinched a 2-0 victory in the first leg at Somplo National Stadium last week Friday. The 3-2 victory against Botswana means that Eswatini will face Egypt next month in the next clash. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabiso Msonera, Babane.
Manzini Regional Football Association Chairman Johannes Siboza says it remains the region's hope to see junior national teams such as under-23s and under-20s dominated by players from the Manzini region. Siboza was reflecting on the youth development programs that seek to develop youngsters in the region.
Manzini Regional Football Association continue to introduce programs that will take football in the region to the new height. At the moment, the region is leading the other three regions in terms of number of clubs representation at Premier League and National First Division. The association's chairperson, Johannes Siboza, says the region's target is to try and dominate the national team ranks from Sihlang Semnigati, the under-23 and the under-20 national teams. Siboza says this will be done by looking at how many players that are from the Manzini region that are playing at the national team levels.
Nathi asibeke ezingeni lelikahle sisigotsa kaManzini lokuthi abe maningi leka Premier League ka First Division bemhlawumbe.
Siboza concluded urging elite teams at Premier League and National First Division from the Manzini region to try and monitor players from Super League Division as they could be impressed by the talent they have. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabiso Msonera, Manzini.
That's all for now. Before we go, let's have a look at our top stories. The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku today joined over 700 world leaders in former Japanese Prime Minister His Excellency Shinzo Abe's state funeral. Eswatini Tourism Authority CEO says the authority has accounted 4.5 million of the 19.7 million emalangeni that was recorded by the Auditor General. Eswatini under 23 men's national team has progressed to the next round of the total AFCON 2023 qualifiers.
And with that, we sum up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the update from myself and the team. Thank you for your company. Good night.